Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, students. How are you? I hope everything is going good since we are having a long holiday. And in this occasion, I would like to discuss about our class of current issues in linguistics and ELT research. As I have posted our material for the 3rd of April 2020 about the types of research in ELT. We have body. Body is the content, including introduction, literature review, theoretical framework, related findings, conceptual framework, etc. Body also includes methods and the results. And as you can see, in this section, body is comprised of introduction, method, result, discussion, and conclusion. So introduction, it is important for you to know that introduction should have a preliminary background. A preliminary background is the story that you tell the reader, the story that you tell the examiners of why you are doing research on that specific object. For example, you are doing research on a school. You have to find out the problems available in the school. If you are doing research on analysis, you have to find out the preliminary problems that the students face. Another example, you are trying to do research, a comparative research between one thing and another. For example, a comparative study between students with low motivation and students with high motivation. You should find out the reason or the problems that exist in the school or in the place of the research that you are conducting. Okay, that should be mentioned in the introduction part. And then you also have to mention the theory. In introduction, for example, you are doing research on speaking skill. You have to put some theories related to speaking. First of all, you have to define what a speaking is. Okay, and then you have to mention or elaborate some previous research that touches on speaking. Okay, another example, you are trying to conduct research on listening. You have to find out theory about listening. Is there any previous findings related to listening research? Okay, is there any previous research that is related to your topic of research? And then you have to find out the problems that should be included in the identification of the problem. Identification of a problem in the introduction part usually discusses about the problems that students face. For example, identification of the problem in speaking skills faced by students of SMA 1. Number 1, students are reluctant to speak English. Number 2, the identification of the problems. Number 2, the teacher has been using the same method over and over again. Identification number 3, the students have limited access to enriching materials. Number 4, identification of the problems. The students are not encouraged to practice speaking at school. Yeah, that's the list of identification of the problems that is related to speaking. Okay, and then you have to mention the formulation of the problem. For example, you are doing research on speaking. Number 1, if you are trying to do research on classroom action research, yeah, the formulation of the problem would usually say, number 1, can communicative language teaching improve student speaking performance? Question tag. So the formulation of the problem should be in question mark, and usually consists of 2 different formulations of the problems. Okay, number 2, if you are doing research on classroom action research, what are the factors that affect student speaking skills? Yeah, those are the common formulation of the problems for classroom action research. Okay, now we talk about experimental research. For identification of the problems, for formulation of the problems, the questions would usually be, number 1, is communicative language teaching method effective in teaching student speaking skill? Is communicative language teaching method effective in teaching student speaking skill? Number 1. For example, the population. For example, you are doing research at SMA 1 Tanjung Pinang. You are doing research on the 3rd grade students. How many is your population of your study? The population is the total number of 3rd grade students. The total number of 3rd grade students. The total number of your 3rd grade students are, let's say, 300 students. But you are doing, or you take only 1 class or 2 classes, which is comprised of 100 students. The sampling is the 2 classes. You can use random sampling or non-random sampling. So most people, most graduates, they use non-random sampling, that is purposive sampling. They take 1 class, the whole class, to be the subject of their research. Okay, if you are doing a survey or a questionnaire let's say, for example, you are doing an analysis research, you are doing an analysis of teachers' perspectives in teaching vocational high school. You are taking random sampling. Let's say in 1 class there are 10 English teachers, and you are doing random sampling of let's say 3 or 4 teachers. You can use simple random, stratified random, or cluster random sampling. Each of these has their own characteristics. You have to find out more about sampling technique. Make sure you use the right technique to take your sampling. or samples. Besides validity, we also have reliability. This is quite similar to validity. Reliability is also used to test the quality of your pre-test and post-test items. Okay, you can actually choose only one, whether using validity or whether using reliability, to test the quality of your instruments. Okay, now we look at the comparison of quantitative and qualitative research. Quantitative research is done to study the relationships, the cause and effect. So you're using quantitative study if you're doing research on a relationship or on a cause and effect study, while qualitative is mostly about examining a phenomenon, examining a case study. For example, you are trying to do research on teachers' satisfaction. Teacher satisfaction towards their teaching quality. So you're trying to examine a phenomenon. So you are trying to describe in details the phenomenon that is taking place in the field. Okay, now that's the two most important points. So the rest are another important point that I want to highlight is that you have to find research indicators. Okay, research indicators. So without this, you will not be able to conduct your research. So what are research indicators? So indicators must be from an expert. So this is the example of indicators of speaking skill. Students utter words fluently. Students do not make grammatical error. This is just example. You have to find from an expert, whether in Google or on other references. So actually there are many, normally in general, the indicators of specific technique consist of more than 4 items, more than 4 or more than 3 items. So these are the items that you use to score students specific skill. Okay, and indicators of the research must be put on chapter 3, that is on research method part. So without this, your research will be null, will be rejected, and it will be aimless. It will be there will be no direction. You will not be able to continue finishing your research because you don't have the foundation of assessing student specific skills. Okay, maybe that's all for this time round. we will continue more about what we have discussed in the next video. I hope you understand some of my points, and if you are confused or need more explanation, we can discuss on the comment section on Edmodo. Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you again next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.